with Ben Fred, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist. Good morning, Ben Frederickson.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Hey, I got a chance to go to Columbia and watch that women's basketball game yesterday. That place was rocking, man. They got a all-time record crowd in there for a women's hoops game. They were up in the upper decks, and it was a fun event.
So you're saying that there's life in the Mizzou basketball programs, both men and women?
Absolutely. It's a good time for Tigers basketball after what felt like kind of like 40 years in the desert almost.
All right. So where are they? Are they in the tournament?
Yeah, they'll be in. Yeah, they're going to be looking to host a regional. That's kind of the discussion that they're in. And yesterday was a big win for them because Tennessee was ranked ahead of them, and they had pretty much the same record in SEC play, so it even helps their chances even more to get that win. They've now beaten, I think, like 4 ranked teams at home. They've beaten Tennessee twice now, which is a big deal because the Lady Vols, of course, have the tradition and the history, and for the Pat Summitt legacy and all that stuff. So that was a rather large win. Sophie Cunningham is a pretty special player.
All right, that's Mizzou. What about your Blues? They seem to be wallowing a little bit.
Yeah, they're struggling. 3 straight losses, not a good time to do that. They're taking care of business against bad teams, but they haven't really shown an ability to go out and beat good teams. They're in that discussion where I feel like they're in often, where they got to try to decide do they want to make a move here before the deadline and add a piece that could really use some help scoring, but I don't think they want to sacrifice some of their young talent because they don't really have the look and feel of a championship caliber team. So you don't really want to mortgage the future for a guy who's a rental. So I think they're just probably going to end up betting on what they have, maybe make some incremental changes. But when you have a bipolar goalie situation and your offense can come and go like that, you don't really fix that with one guy.
Yeah, all right. And then, of course, Moustakis signs over the weekend with the Padres for $120 million something dollars.
Hosmer.
Hosmer signed. Moustakis is still out there.
Moustakis wishes he got that much money. Yeah, no, Hosmer with the 8-year deal, which made my jaw drop when I saw it. I think the collusion angle is falling apart in Major League Baseball. The free agents are starting to go, and Hosmer got paid well for waiting it out. But 8 years is a long time for a guy who has never had 2 consistently good seasons. He's had a tendency to go 1 good season, 1 average or below season. So I guess the hope is maybe they'll get 4 good years out of him. But I would not have given Hosmer that deal personally. I was never a big fan of some of the numbers that he put up. He had a great year this past season, and if that's the beginning of what he's going to do for the next 8 years, and it'll be a great contract. But he hasn't shown any consistency. I think it's a risky bet for the Padres, who aren't exactly in a championship window either.
Right.
They've made big bets on those guys before. They're going to have to move Will Myers to the outfield to move him off first base. They already had a first baseman. It was just a little odd to me, but good for Haas.
Here's what I don't understand about baseball, and that is if someone's going to pay you $120-something million for 8 years, that means somebody else wanted to pay you $115 million somewhere, right? So why? Who is it that two people wanted to pay this guy this exorbitant amount of money to bid it up so high? I can't imagine there were a lot of teams who were willing to go that high for this guy.
Well, the Royals wanted to keep him, and you can kind of understand why they would want to do that. He was the face of their team for their World Series appearances. They're going to go through a rebuild here, and they kind of wanted to have somebody around who the fans loved and could kind of keep people coming. And
right.
I get that.
Yeah.
The Cardinals re-signed Yadier Molina to a contract that they probably would not have given another player
Sure.
that they didn't know.
Right.
Certain guys have certain equity, and some people roll their eyes at that. But I get that.
Right.
So I think I can understand why the Royals were in. Now the Padres, I think, just kept adding years until the Royals said, "Look, we're not going to go there."
Right.
And I don't blame them for that either. We'll see how that deal pans out. But the Royals, I think, were probably the most interested in keeping Hosmer. There were other teams interested, but I don't know that there was anybody they wanted to give him 8 years. I mean, that's a long time.
That is a long time. So what does this do for Lance Lynn now?
I don't know, man. He's some of those kind of pitchers in that realm are starting to fly off the board here. Jake Odorizzi has been traded. There've been, Andrew Kashner he's been taken. He's been signed somewhere. So Lance Lynn and Jake Arrieta are the guys who everybody's going, okay, where are they going to go? And if you're the Cardinals, you're going, well, hopefully they don't go in the division. But the more teams that get pitchers, the more you're wondering if Arrieta or Lynn is going to land with like the Brewers.
Right.
That's still, a possibility. I still think Lynn, if I had to guess today, might go to the Nationals. But we'll see. I still think Lance is going to get paid. Now he might not make as much as he wanted to, or he might not get the exact years that he wanted to. But I've heard some people say, well, maybe he should have taken the qualifying offer from the Cardinals, which is 1 year and $14 million. He's gonna do better than that.
The Mets aren't shy in saying we like Lance Lynn, but we're not going to give up a high draft pick for Lance Lynn. So there's sort of that compensation that is sort of messing up Lance Lynn's deal.
Well, that's any free agent now, who qualifies for that, who has turned down a qualifying offer. And I think with Lance, if he were to have accepted the qualifying offer, he would have came back to the Cardinals 1 year, $14 million. Who's to say he's going to have a better chance of getting a better deal next year?
Right.
I mean, the market has changed in how it views these guys. He would have had another year on his age count, which would have probably hurt him more than it helped him. And there's nothing to say that he wouldn't have been doing this exact same thing next year. I mean, he had a great year last year coming off of Tommy John surgery. And some of his numbers were a little odd. His walk rate was up, his home run rate was up, his strikeout rate was down. But he had, performance-wise, he did exactly what Lance Lynn has always done. He went out and pitched and got results and gave quality starts. Now you can argue that that's going to fall apart because of some of those numbers those rates. Or you could say, look, he was coming back from his first year after Tommy John. He's going to have better control next year and be sharper than he was last season. I think what Lance can offer a team is quality. He can offer quality starts. He can offer taking the ball every fifth day and going out there and pitching and giving you proven, reliable innings, which is such a big part of the game that we often overlook. I think he's going to get a deal. I think he's going to get a good deal. I think he's going to get the kind of deal that made it wise to wait around and not accept that QO.
The Cubs go out and get Hugh Darvish, and the Cardinals counter with Jason Mott.
You bet, yeah. That's yeah, man. They're kind of bringing some of the band back together. You got Mott, you got Norris coming back. He never, had been a Cardinal killer in the past. You've got Mujica there on a minor league deal. I don't know, man. We're going to see if these guys can impact the team in some way. They're low risk gambles, if you will. But certainly some familiar faces. And I think the Darvish signing is. We talked about this. I think last week. It's a game changer in the sense that Cubs rotation is looking pretty good now.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals are going to have to find a way to get some security in that rotation. They're still betting on some what ifs there. But I think that the biggest thing is that they're not going to go out and add another piece, and they got to be willing to make changes on the fly soon. They can't over rely on guys who aren't performing. They have depth. I'll give them that, and they've done a good job of building it. But it does you no good if you stick with guys who aren't doing well too long before moving on to other options.
We'll see what happens. Ben Frederickson, STLtoday.com, and also with the sports guys during the week at night. Ben, thanks for checking in. Have a good week.